What school rule had to be put in place because of you? My science teacher banned the phrases "shut up, you suck," and "your mom" because of my class. And he wrote them in the whiteboard and it looks like "shut up, you suck, your mom," and me and my friends had a good laugh about that. I figured out what pitch the buzzer was at our basketball games. Turns out it's hilarious to count down the shot clock early and then play your instruments obnoxiously loud at that pitch to make the opposing team take a shot. It also turns out the Mountain West Conference will also shut that down by the next season. / boys can't wear skirts in school / late 80s. It was a very hot year and the rules said pants or skirts must be worn in school. So a few of us boys wore skirts to school because we wanted to make a point about them being more like shorts and much cooler than pants. The skirts were all ankle length and much cooler than jeans. They out us in detention and changed the rule language to include gender about articles of clothing. Very rural town. We pissed off a lot of people. Not me, but because of my graduating class senior prank, motorcycles are not allowed to be driven inside the building. No Photoshop on the school computers. A section of our school computers had some of the Adobe suite, including Photoshop. I was caught, at 13 years old, aggressively photoshopping my principal and the vice principal onto a still from a porn video. Parents were called, and they had to delete that software they probably spent hundreds of pounds on. Not me, but in my school dress code it now states no tails because a girl went through a furry phase and wore one in front of clients. We are in hair school. Alligators aren't allowed on the property. Not a rule put in place, but a stupid rule was gotten rid of because of me. My first teacher of the day had a policy that if you were late 3 times you got a detention. If you missed the detention, you'd get 2. If you missed those, you'd get 4. It doubled every time. I was terrible at getting my shit together, so I managed to collect one of these detentions pretty quickly. I knew the policy and I was determined to show her how stupid it was. So I didn't show up. And again I didn't show up. And my detentions doubled. She'd say to me, "If you don't serve your detentions, you're not going to graduate." I'd laugh it off and tell her I would be fine. I knew this because, by week 2, under her policy I'd already accrued more detentions than there were days in the school year. I was certain it wouldn't hold because by the end of the year I owed her more days of detention than the age of the universe. A couple of weeks before graduation she relented and I spent one day in detention wherein I played Magic the Gathering with a friend for 2 hours. While in film school all of the tripods had to have bright pink tape on it after my friend and I managed to cause a major lockdown when a teacher thought the tripod we were carrying was a large gun. It was a pretty wild duck-up. It was the largest SWAT response in Canadian history at the time and caused trauma to a bunch of students and teachers. All because a teacher couldn't do a double take. No animals that breathe air allowed. I take pride in that one. No creating chat rooms. In 7th grade I modified a Google Doc to make it work like a chat room, but then it suddenly got popular. So I made a website that basically was just Discord but not blocked by the teachers. At the end of the year almost the entire grade was in it, plus many from other grades. Then teachers caught on that there was one website that many people were going to, and that kids somehow were communicating and that no work was getting done. I'm not sure how, but the teachers found it and ducking deleted the entire website from the school. But of course I created a new one in 8th grade. I'm the reason my elementary school's live news broadcast has a delay. This wasn't school-wide, but a new policy for one particular class had to be put in place because of me. I had an absolute sexist asshat of a history teacher in high school, the kind who would talk to your boobs instead of to your face, make jokes about it being that time of the month if heaven forbid a girl was anything less than a smiling ray of sunshine. His class had a large term paper due at the end of it, gave a minimum length of 25 pages, but literally no other guidelines about what he wanted, or how it would be graded. At the beginning of the term another girl asked in class for some more clarification, a seemingly reasonable request, and being the dick he is gave the answer of just write what you know sweetie and hope it fills the minimum number of pages. That comment with its condescending tone was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Since we were told to write what we know and to fill at least 25 pages, I decided to see how far I could take things in an act of malicious compliance. I poured my all into that project over the course of the term, busted my ass, and when the day came to turn our papers in I handed the jackass a binder containing my 165-page term paper. When he asked me what that was, I smiled and said, "My paper, sir, you told us to write what we know, it just happens I know a lot," then walked out of the room. Next year there was a 30-page limit on this assignment. Nothing as wild as anyone else, but in all classes at my old school, in any class that requires a report/paper to be written, there's a max length thanks to me. The fence behind the school was closed after me and my friend would go to the supermarket and come back. The teachers didn't know that they just saw us going to the open fence one day and asked us what we are doing, and we said we were touching stray cats. Part of me wanted to say touching pussies, but it was a Catholic school and my second week there. And they closed it. Wasn't me, but the combined effort of my class caused the school to ban the words donkey and Shrek. You'd get sent to the principal's office if a teacher heard you say them. I was taking international marketing in college during the summer. Because it was a summer class, the class had been condensed down to 6 weeks. The way the class worked was that we would meet Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 4 hours at a time. We'd have a break during each class, and the professor would have us sign in at the beginning of each class and after the break. He put on the syllabus that you were allowed to miss one sign-in without penalty to your grade. This meant that you couldn't miss an entire class without it affecting the grade. The professor was adamant that no individual exceptions would be made. As it happens, I was getting ready to donate bone marrow while I was taking this class. The donation was actually scheduled for the week after the class ended. When you donate bone marrow, they do a very comprehensive and in-depth physical at the hospital where you will be doing the actual donation. I live in Florida, but they were sending me out of town for the donation. This meant that I would also have to fly out of town for the physical. The issue is, the physicals were only done on Tuesdays. I went to my professor to see if I could get an exception, since I was not about to let my grade get penalized for donating bone marrow. He remained adamant about not making exceptions for one person. Instead, solely because of my circumstance, he modified the syllabus for the entire class to state that he would allow students to miss 2 sign-ins, one entire class, without penalty to their grade. Defecating is only allowed inside of the boys' club facility. Not necessarily a rule, but I managed to get Reddit blocked. Not allowed to crochet little, or giant, penises anymore. It wasn't just me, it was a group effort, but we convinced a kid to drink hand sanitizer. He ended up having to get his stomach pumped. So hand sanitizer was banned from the entire school. I'm still friends with him to this day 10 years later. Not just me but my drama group. Inform staff before you make it look like you hung someone in a performance. Not me but a friend got his leg stuck in the gym equipment in year 7, so they put an age restriction on it. Water banned on test days. I was on Aquitaine and played sports, so I drank a lot of water. I carried a gallon jug with me everywhere. On the day of finals, I accidentally dropped the jug. It smashed open on the desk and multiple students' answer sheets were destroyed. No locker booby traps. Not allowed to ride your horse to school. Strict gendering of shop classes. I was the only girl who chose the electricity module and, I think, the only girl who ever took the class, because the next year a new rule made it impossible. Update, questions have been asked. I think it was because it never crossed their minds that any girl might want to take the shop classes meant for boys, so they couldn't find a written rule enabling them to block my choice. But as soon as they could, they made it a rule. Yes, I aced the class. It wasn't difficult. The school has moved since then and shop classes were abolished, so the rule no longer applies. I was a bookworm. So was my friend. In 7th grade my reading teacher set my accelerated reading for those who aren't familiar, goal low at 40 pints. Despite knowing I was a good reader, I could get 40 pints with just 2 books. So my friend and I got into a bit of a competition to see who could get the most points in one semester. By the time the semester was almost up we both had just over 200 pints each. Most of the other students in our class had a goal of 20 to 30 pints and some were struggling to reach that. The school made a rule the next semester that no one's goal could exceed 40 pints a semester. Don't piss on other kids. What? I was like 7 to 8 years old. No building snow caves at recess. Got trapped after another kid threw snow on the roof and it collapsed on me. Thankfully got dug out pretty quickly, probably could have turned out worse. Oops. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos.